Hi, friends. I'd like to talk to you about a bill that Congress passed over the weekend authorizing some additional funds to the United States Postal Service. And then I'd like to ask you three quick questions about this bill. Before I do that, if we've not had the chance to connect, my name is Rick Live, and I'm running for the 11th Congressional District. Here's the bill. This is from the Wall Street Journal. House passes bill bolstering U.S. Postal Service with $25 billion. Here's the article. The Democratic-led House on Saturday passed legislation preventing U.S. Postal Service cutbacks at least through January and providing it with $25 billion in additional funding, reflecting Democrats' concerns that delivery delays affecting basic mail service would spill over into an election being held during the coronavirus pandemic. So here's the thinking behind this. There is an idea being advanced that anybody who is going to vote in November is going to vote by mail. And to ensure that there are no problems with your ballot being counted, the House has seen fit to give the post office $25 billion in additional funding to resolve any kind of problems. Now, this bill has not been passed by the Senate yet. So we don't know what the status of the bill is. However, we know enough that I think we're on good ground to ask a couple of questions. So let me ask three quick questions. Here they are. Number one, is this sufficient? Is this enough money? The post office has operated at a loss for the last 13 years. I'm not saying anything bad about the post office, just that they have not adapted to people sharing information by email, sharing information by text, sharing information by social media. People receive bills online, they pay bills online, and these kinds of changes have not been reflected by the practices of the post office. And we know this because they've operated at a loss for the last 13 years. So my question is $25 billion enough? Is $25 billion going to ensure that there are no further problems? And is $25 billion something that we're going to have to cough up for every election? Anytime we're going to have an election, are we going to have to cough up another $25 billion? I think it's a fair question, and that's my first question. Here's my second question. Is $25 billion going to ensure that there are no problems? We know that the biggest problem that comes from ballots are absentee ballots and ballots that are mailed. And this is a process that we already have. It's a procedure we already use, and we know that's the biggest number of problems that come from ballots. So is this going to be happening? We know that mail is lost, mail is stolen, mail is tampered with, and that's just mail. That's just regular mail. Is this going to be enough to prevent this from your own ballot, from your say in an election? That's the second question. Here's the third question, and this is a question you should be asking anytime the government spends money. Here's the question. Who is paying for this? We're talking about $25 billion, not $25,000, not $250,000, $25 billion in additional funds. This is an enormous debt. This is an enormous burden that is being placed on American taxpayers. If we were talking about $25, if you said all the problems could be finished with $25, I'd have paid it myself. Merry Christmas. Totally fine. We're not talking about $25. We're talking about $25 billion. Look, if you said, look, Rick, we need $25 billion. This is what it's going to take to fix this. If that were the case, and I don't think that it is, and I don't think anybody believes that, but let's suppose that it is. Does that mean that $25 billion is coming from somewhere else? Even if it were $1 billion, say that we could fix this for $1 billion, do you get the sense that $1 billion will come from somewhere else? We all deal with unexpected emergencies. If you're driving a car and all of a sudden you need $700 in repairs, fine, you pay it. But that $700 has to come from somewhere else. And we're not hearing any discussion. We're just hearing authorizing $25 billion in additional funding. That is a lot of money for a problem that we already have a solution for. We already have a system in place. Why are we spending more money? Why are we pushing so hard to go to vote by mail? Friends, don't vote by mail. Look, think of it this way. As I said before, the biggest number of problems that comes from ballot counting come from absentee ballots. Nobody's saying get rid of absentee ballots. But to push this standard, this national standard of everybody vote by mail, this is problematic, and it's silly. When you vote by mail, and all the kind of problems that come from absentee ballots usually come from people filling in. Do your own homework on this. It comes from people filling in the ballots incorrectly. If you fill in a ballot incorrectly, and you vote in person, there is a person right there who can solve it right there. They can solve the problem right there. But when your clerks receive the ballots by way of mail and you filled it out incorrectly, there's nothing they can do about it. They have to set it to the side. So don't be that person. Don't worry about it. Just vote in person. The answer then is to vote in person at more locations. Your county clerks have been working on this for months. They have had months to be thinking about this. The answer is not to reduce the number of polling places. It's not fewer number. It's actually more polling places. If you say, well, I'm worried about, getting some kind of disease, yes, then vote in person and encourage your clerk, your county clerk, to have more locations. If there's more locations, there's fewer people at each one of these locations, and there's lower risk that anything's going to be a problem with your ballot. So wherever this bill goes, friends, still commit to vote in person.